Hola a todos. En la presente clase vamos a practicar con unas oraciones o frases sencillas, frases simples que pueden ser útiles en una conversación convencional. In today's class, let's practice seeing some simple sentences that can be handy and useful in a typical conventional conversation. Bien, el título de hoy, today's title, or today's subject is práctica de preguntas y respuestas. Práctica de preguntas y respuestas. Okay? Practice of questions and answers. Recuerden que en español la estructura de las oraciones interrogativas es exactamente igual que la estructura de las oraciones aseverativas. So, remember that in Spanish, the structure of the question sentences is exactly the same as the structure of non-question sentences. Therefore, ¿cuándo vendrás? When will you come? If we delete the question marks, this is when will you come will become you will when you will come, okay? So here it sounds a bit awkward because cuando is a question word, but what I want to mean is that while in English we have to invert the order of the subject and the verb to convert a sentence into a question, in Spanish we do not do that. We simply add the question marks. So questions and non-questions have exactly the same structure. The only thing that identifies a sentence as a question is the question marks. Okay, first question, la primera pregunta. ¿Cuándo vendrás? When will you come? Or, ¿cuándo vas a venir? When are you going to come? Así que estas dos oraciones significan lo mismo, solo que esta está en futuro simple y esta está en futuro progresivo. These two sentences are identical. The only difference is that this one is in simple future, will come, and this one is in progressive future, are going to come. Both futures mean the same thing, they are identical and they are used with the same purpose, okay? So, ¿cuándo vendrás? And ¿cuándo vas a venir? When will you come? And when are you going to come? How can we answer this? ¿Cómo podemos contestar a esto? Por ejemplo, for example, vendré, I will come, or llegaré, which means I will arrive, right? Mañana. Mañana means tomorrow. Mañana. So, why did I put this between brackets? Because we can simply answer mañana, tomorrow, or I will arrive, or I will come tomorrow. Vendré mañana, or llegaré mañana. The future tense for the first person, for I, finishes always in E, letter E with an accent, okay? Vendré or llegaré. Or instead of mañana can be pasado mañana. So pasado mañana means past tomorrow, or that means the day after tomorrow. Pasado mañana. Or we can add tras pasado mañana. Tras pasado mañana. Okay. I don't have space to write down pasado mañana, but here tras pasado mañana means the following day to the day after tomorrow, okay? So, the day that comes after the day after tomorrow, in Spanish we call it tras, pasado mañana, with T-R-A-S, tras. Good. Siguiente pregunta. Next question. ¿De qué trabajas? ¿De qué trabajas? Literally, this means of what you work, of what do you work, which in English means what do you do for work, right? ¿De qué trabajas? Así que si queremos saber el trabajo, la profesión de alguien, le preguntamos ¿de qué trabajas? So if we want to know somebody's profession or job, we ask him ¿de qué trabajas? Him or her, because this question is suitable for a he or a she. Okay, ¿de qué trabajas? The answer can be, for example, la respuesta podría ser trabajo en una fábrica. Okay? I work in a factory. Fábrica. So fábrica is not fabric, right? Fábrica means factory. So this is a false friend word with English. Fábrica has nothing to do with fabric. It is factory. Or trabajo en un taxi, right? Trabajo en un taxi. I work in a taxi, right? Or you can say soy abogado. Soy abogado means I am lawyer. I am lawyer, or I am a lawyer. Only that in Spanish, when you say I am a lawyer, you don't use the article. You simply say I am lawyer, right? Soy abogado. Bien, continuemos. Let's continue. ¿Dónde trabajas? ¿Dónde trabajas? Where do you work? Where do you work? For example, trabajo en Microsoft. So, where do you work? ¿Dónde trabajas? Trabajo en Microsoft. For example, okay? I work for Microsoft, right? In Spanish we can say I work for, like we can say trabajo para. The preposition para, P-A-R-A, will be for. Trabajo para Microsoft. However, in Spanish we usually use the preposition in. So, I work in Microsoft, right? That's how we would reply in Spanish more frequently, okay? In English it would sound awkward or wrong to say I work in, right? But we use the in preposition in Spanish more often than not, okay? So, trabajo en Microsoft, or ¿dónde trabajas? You can say trabajo en el centro. En el centro, or en el centro de la ciudad, right? To say I work downtown or in the downtown area, okay? Good. ¿Tienes hambre or tienes sed? This means do you have hunger or do you have thirst, right? Are you hungry or are you thirsty? ¿Tienes hambre? ¿Tienes sed? Las respuestas más típicas, the most typical answers serían sí, tengo mucha hambre. Or no tengo sed. Okay? Sí, tengo mucha hambre. This means, yes, I'm very hungry. Or, no, no tengo sed. No, I'm not thirsty. Bien, siguiente pregunta. ¿Está el señor López? Is Mr. Lopez here? Está. A synonym for está would be using another verb. Se encuentra el señor López also means is Mr. Lopez here. Se encuentra is a little bit more formal or a little bit more educated or polite than simply saying está. Both are perfect, right? But if we are calling a client or something related with work, we would use this second form that is more polite, se encuentra, right? So, literally, está is verb estar. It's like using the verb to be. To be. Is Mr. Lopez here, okay? And encontrarse. Okay, encontrar. Remember that in Spanish we have reflexive verbs, okay? Almost every verb can become reflexive if we add at the end the reflexive pronoun, okay? Which would be, for the verb in infinitive, would be se, okay? And here, when you conjugate the verb or you use it in a sentence, you put the preposition before the verb. So when we answer, I'll show you how to use it. Although we have seen that in a previous lesson. Okay. Encontrar, the verb encontrar means to find, to find. But when we use the verb encontrar in its reflexive form, encontrarse means to be there or to be here, right? In other words, to find oneself in a place or to find somebody in a place, right? But it's not used in the sense of finding, but in the sense of being there, okay? So, the reflexive verb encontrarse, which is the verb to find with a reflexive pronoun, yes? That is a synonym of the verb to be, being somewhere, of the verb estar, right? So, we can say, ¿está el señor López? Is Mr. López here or there? Remember that in Spanish, I'm not including in the sentence the word here or there. Here would be aquí, and there would be allí, right? Allí or allá or ahí. Okay? These are three different ways of saying there, right? Any of these three is perfect. So, I can say, ¿está el señor López aquí? To say, is Mr. López here? Or I can also say, ¿está el señor López ahí? Is Mr. López there? Okay? However, we usually, more frequent than not, we do not include the location reference, okay? So we simply say, ¿está el señor López? Okay? So, depending on the context, it's understood whether we mean there or here, right? So if I'm talking to somebody that is somewhere else, and they say, ¿está el señor López? Obviously, I mean where he is, right, over there. If that person is here with me, right, and I ask him, ¿está el señor López? I'm asking if he's right here with us. Now, if the conversation, if we are talking about another place, right, and then I ask him, ¿está el señor López? Obviously, because of the context, since we are talking of another place, then I want to know if Mr. López is over there, okay? So, we do not say most of the times, okay, here or there. in this kind of sentences, okay? We just say, we use the verb to be without here or there. And the context tells us, or makes it obvious, if we are talking about here or there, okay? That's why here, when I translated the sentence, I wrote this like this, because it can be here or there, okay? So, está el señor López, or of course, se encuentra el señor López. So, any of these two are perfect or okay. If I'm talking informally, since this word is shorter, it has less syllables, we usually, just because it's simpler, easier to say, less syllables, I would say, está el señor López, right? But, since this one is a bit more polite, if I'm calling somebody from the office, okay, I will say, se encuentra el señor López, okay? Good. The answer could be, for example, no, acaba de salir. Acaba de salir. No, he just left. Acaba is a verb, right? From acabar, which means finished, doing something, okay? But acabar de is used like just, okay? So acaba de, just, he just left, right? He just left. The complicated thing is that while the word just in English, you don't need to conjugate it because it's not a verb, right? In Spanish, acabar is a verb, so we have to conjugate it in correspondence with the subject of the sentence, okay? But acaba de salir means he just left. One more thing. Señor, as you may know, is a short form for señor, right? Señor, which means Mr., right? And señora is a short form for señorita. Okay? Señorita, the abbreviation. Sorry, I made a mistake. For señora. Señora. Right? So, SR is señor, SRA is señora. And same as in English, we spell it with a capital S. En español también se usaba mucho antes los diminutivos de estos, señorito y señorita. Sin embargo, como en las últimas décadas comenzó a utilizarse de modo despectivo, fueron eliminados del uso cotidiano del español. So, traditionally, for centuries, in Spanish we also had the Mrs. Okay, sorry, the Miss and also the title for unmarried, a single man. Okay, so señor would be for a married man, señora would be for a married woman, traditionally, okay? And for an unmarried man, you would use señorito, right? A diminutive, señorito. And for an unmarried woman, we would use señorita. However, in the past many decades, these two, señorito and señorita, have been used a bit despectively. Therefore, they have been, the Spanish language stopped using señorito and señorita because they kind of got a bit perverted because they were used despectively, right? So nowadays, for married and unmarried men and women, we would use señor. Okay, so we're saying that for married and unmarried man and woman, respectively, we would say señor and señora, while señorito and señorita are not used anymore. Nuestra siguiente pregunta es, ¿cuál es su estado civil? Our next question is, ¿cuál es su estado civil? Estado civil, if we translate word by word, estado civil, it is state civil or civil state. However, estado civil means marital status. Okay, marital status. So, if we ask for somebody's estado civil, we are asking him whether that person, that man or that woman, is married, single, a widower or a widow, or divorced. Okay? So, ¿cuál es su estado civil? Which is your marital status. I'm using the pronoun su. Su can mean your for you plural or you singular, right? Sorry. It can be a you plural or can be not you singular. Su can also mean his or hers, okay? Su. But it also means you or your in the formal sense. Not when we are using the tú pronoun, but when we are using the usted pronoun, right? Usted pronoun is a formal you in Spanish. When we are addressing somebody that we do not know, somebody we are not acquainted with, somebody hierarchically higher than us, somebody more important, okay? Or very respectfully. We use usted, the formal you, and the possessive pronoun for usted is su, okay? So, without a proper context, we cannot know if this question is referring to you, a formal you, if I'm talking to somebody, or if it refers to them, or to the plural you, or to him or to her, okay? So, whenever we see su, we really need a proper context to know who is the subject actually. Okay, so since I wrote this sentence myself, I want it to refer for when you're talking to somebody formally, right? So when you're interviewing or questioning somebody, right? For example, at an office, a public office, or whatever, then we use the formal you, su. ¿Cuál es su estado civil? Which is your marital status. The answer can be soy viudo or viuda, for I am a widower or a widow, respectively, for man or woman, respectively. Casado or casada, for married, for men and women, respectively. Soltero or soltera, right? Whether it is a man or a woman, means single. Soltero means single, unmarried. Or the other option is divorciado, for a man, divorced, or divorciada, for a woman, divorced. Nuestra última pregunta es, our last question is, ¿cuál es el motivo de su viaje? ¿Cuál es el motivo de su viaje? Again, the same subject. It's you, the formal way of addressing somebody we are talking to, right? The formal you. ¿Cuál es el motivo de su viaje? Which is the purpose of your trip? Viaje means trip. So this is a typical question for some citizens of some countries. When they go get a visa to travel, they usually get this question, which is the reason or the purpose for your trip. So here some typical answers can be: voy de vacaciones. I'm going for vacations or on vacations. Voy de vacaciones, vacations. Or voy por turismo. I'm going for tourism, right? Or for sightseeing or whatever. So whatever has to do with tourism, right? With holidays, vacations, fun, is also referred to as turismo. Voy por turismo, right? Or voy por trabajo. I'm going for work. Voy por trabajo. Or voy por negocios. Voy por negocios. I'm going for business. Negocios. So negocios is the word for business in the plural, right? So voy por negocios, we speak in the plural when we are not referring to one business in particular, right? When we are referring to business in general, right? Or to things in general, in Spanish we use the plural. So we use the plural for business, voy por negocios, okay? Good. Why don't we use a plural for trabajo, right? Because here we are using trabajo, work, as abstract, right? So, voy por trabajo or voy por negocios. Bien, con esto terminamos nuestra clase de práctica de preguntas y respuestas. So, this class was intended to practice seeing a few questions, sentences, and answers, so we could practice seeing and getting used to seeing how the structure of sentences works in Spanish. So I hope this class was useful. Remember, if you have any questions, any doubts, you can comment on YouTube, and I always try to answer all the questions. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next class. Goodbye.